Every day, a construction worker walked past a small restaurant on his way home from work. He was tired, poor, and carried the weight of his family on his shoulders. He never stopped to eat there because he could not afford it. But one day, everything changed. He heard crying. He saw a woman on the ground, trembling and hurt. He did not know who she was. He did not know her story. But what he did that night would change both their lives forever. Who was this woman, and why did 4 black SUVs come looking for her weeks later? Sit back and find out as we delve into this touching story. In a small, dusty village on the edge of Lagos, a young man named Samuel woke up before dawn every single day. He was 28 years old, but his hands looked older. They were rough, calloused, covered in scars from lifting heavy cement bags and working under the scorching sun. Samuel was a construction worker, and construction work in Nigeria was not easy. Samuel lived in a small one-room house with his mother and his younger sister. His mother's name was Grace. She was 55 years old, but sickness and hardship had made her look much older. She walked slowly now. Her knees hurt, her hands shook when she tried to cook, but still, every morning, she tried to smile when Samuel woke up. "Samuel," she would say softly, "please eat something before you go." "Mama, I will eat later," Samuel always replied. "Save the food for you and Rita." Rita was Samuel's younger sister. She was 22 years old, beautiful and full of dreams. She wanted to go to university. She wanted to become a teacher, but there was no money for school fees, so instead, she stayed home, helped their mother, and sold small sachets of water by the roadside to bring in a little money. One Thursday, Samuel finished his shift very late. The construction site was preparing for a big project, so the supervisor asked everyone to work extra hours. His muscles ached, his stomach was empty, but he said nothing. He collected his small pay for the day, wrapped the Naira notes carefully in a piece of cloth, and started walking home. The streets were quiet. Most shops were closed. A few streetlights flickered weakly. As Samuel walked, he passed a small restaurant called Golden Plate. It was one of those places where rich people came to eat. The lights inside were bright. The chairs looked comfortable. The smell of jollof rice and fried chicken floated through the air. Samuel's stomach growled. He stopped for just a moment and stared through the window. He saw well-dressed people laughing, eating, enjoying their meals. He sighed and whispered, "One day. Maybe one day." Then he turned to keep walking. But just as he took a step, he heard something that made him freeze. A woman's voice, loud, angry, shouting. "Are you stupid? Do you know who I am? How dare you bring my food late?" Samuel stopped. He turned back toward the restaurant. Through the glass, he could see a woman standing up from her table. She wore expensive clothes. Gold jewelry hung from her neck and wrists. Her face was twisted with anger. In front of her stood a young waitress. The waitress looked small, scared. She was holding an empty tray, her head bowed. "I'm sorry, Ma," the waitress said quietly. "The kitchen was busy. I brought it as fast as I could." "Sorry?" the woman screamed. "Sorry is not enough. Do you know how much I paid for this meal?" The waitress did not reply. She just stood there, trembling. Then, before Samuel could even blink, the angry woman picked up a cup of hot water from the table and poured it directly on the waitress. The waitress screamed. She dropped the tray. Her hands flew to her arm where the water had burned her skin. Tears poured down her face. "That will teach you to be slow," the woman said coldly. Then she grabbed her purse, threw some money on the table, and walked out of the restaurant without looking back. The other customers stared in shock. Some whispered, some shook their heads. But no one helped. The manager of the restaurant rushed over. He looked at the waitress with no sympathy. "You made a customer angry," he said sharply. "This is bad for business. You are fired. Leave now." The waitress looked up at him, her eyes red and swollen. "Sir, please," she whispered. "I need this job. My rent." "Leave," the manager said again. "Now." The waitress wiped her tears with the back of her hand, picked up her small bag from behind the counter, and walked out of the restaurant. She walked slowly, like someone who had nowhere to go. Samuel stood outside, watching everything. His heart felt heavy. He did not know this woman. He did not know her name. But something inside him could not let her walk away alone like that. He took a deep breath and followed her. The waitress walked to the side of the road and sat down on the pavement. She buried her face in her hands and began to cry quietly. Her shoulders shook, her burned arm throbbed with pain. Samuel approached her slowly. He did not want to scare her. "Excuse me," he said gently. The woman looked up, startled. Her face was wet with tears. Her eyes were tired and red. "I'm sorry," Samuel said quickly. "I don't mean to disturb you. I saw what happened inside. Are you okay?" The woman stared at him for a moment. Then she looked down again. "I'm fine," she whispered, but her voice cracked. Samuel sat down beside her, keeping a respectful distance. "You don't look fine," he said softly. She did not reply. "My name is Samuel," he continued. "I was walking home when I saw that woman pour hot water on you. That was very wrong. I'm sorry that happened to you." The woman looked at him again. This time, her eyes softened a little. "Thank you," she whispered. "What is your name?" Samuel asked. She hesitated, then she said quietly, "Sophia." "Sophia," Samuel repeated. "That's a nice name." Sophia wiped her face with the back of her hand. "I lost my job," she said, her voice breaking. "I have nowhere to go. I cannot pay my rent. I don't know what to do." Samuel's chest tightened. He understood that feeling. He understood what it meant to have nothing. "Where do you stay?" he asked. "I was renting a small room," Sophia said, "but I am already 2 months behind on rent. The landlord said if I don't pay by tomorrow, he will lock me out." Samuel thought for a moment. He looked at Sophia's burned arm. He looked at her tear-streaked face. He thought about his mother and Rita back home. Then he made a decision. "Sophia," he said gently, "I don't have much, but I have a home. My mother and my sister live with me. It is not big, it is not fancy, but if you need a place to stay tonight, you can come with me." Sophia's eyes widened. "What?" she whispered. You would do that for me?" "Yes," Samuel said simply. "No one should be alone on the streets at night. Come, let me help you." Sophia stared at him for a long moment, then slowly she nodded. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." Samuel stood up and offered her his hand. She took it gently, and together they began walking toward his village. It took them almost an hour to reach Samuel's house. The road was dark and rough. Sophia's feet hurt, but she did not complain. Samuel walked beside her quietly, making sure she was okay. When they finally arrived, Samuel pushed open the wooden door. Inside, a single dim bulb lit the small room. Grace, his mother, was sitting on a low stool, waiting for him. "Samuel," she said with relief, "you are back. I was worried." Then her eyes fell on Sophia. She stood up slowly, confused. "Who is this?" "Mama," Samuel said gently, "this is Sophia. She lost her job tonight. She has nowhere to go. I brought her here. I hope that is okay." Grace looked at Sophia carefully. She saw the burn on her arm. She saw the tears on her face. She saw the exhaustion in her eyes. Grace's face softened immediately. "Come, my child," she said warmly. "Come inside. Sit down." Sophia stepped inside slowly, almost shyly. "Thank you, Ma," she whispered. At that moment, Rita came out from behind the curtain that separated their sleeping area. She looked at Sophia with surprise. "Brother, who is she?" "Her name is Sophia," Samuel said. "She needs help. We are going to help her." Rita looked at Sophia for a moment, then she smiled gently. "Welcome, Sophia. My name is Rita." Sophia's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were not tears of pain. They were tears of gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you all so much." Grace moved quickly. "Rita, bring water. Samuel, get the small mat. Sophia, sit down. Let me see your arm." Sophia sat on the wooden bench. Grace gently examined the burn on her arm. She clicked her tongue softly. "This is bad," she said, "but I have something that will help." Grace went to a small corner and brought out a jar of shea butter mixed with herbs. She applied it carefully to Sophia's burn. Sophia winced a little, but she did not pull away. "Thank you, Ma," Sophia said quietly. "You don't need to thank me," Grace replied. "We help each other. That is what people should do." Rita brought a cup of water and handed it to Sophia. "Drink," she said with a small smile. "You must be tired." Sophia took the cup and drank slowly. She looked around the small room. It was simple. There was no television, no fancy furniture, just a few wooden benches, some mats on the floor, and a small stove in the corner. But there was something else in this room, something Sophia had not felt in a very long time. Warmth, kindness, love. "You can sleep here tonight," Samuel said gently. "Tomorrow we will think about what to do next." Sophia nodded. "Thank you," she whispered again. That night, Rita gave Sophia one of her 2 wrappers to sleep in. Grace gave her a thin mat to lie on. And Samuel stayed awake for a while, sitting outside, making sure everything was okay. For the first time in many months, Sophia felt safe. And for the first time in his life, Samuel felt something stir in his heart. Something he could not name yet. Something that felt like hope. The next morning, Sophia woke up to the sound of Grace moving around the small room. The older woman was preparing breakfast, a simple meal of boiled yam and palm oil. Sophia sat up slowly, still feeling the pain in her arm. But it was better than last night. Grace's herbal ointment had helped. "Good morning, my child," Grace said with a warm smile. "How are you feeling?" "Better, Ma," Sophia replied softly. "Thank you for everything." Grace waved her hand gently. "No need to thank me. Come, eat something." Sophia hesitated. "Ma, I don't want to take your food." "I know." "Shh," Grace interrupted kindly. "We share what we have. That is how we survive. Now come." Sophia stood up and walked to the small stool where Rita was already sitting. Rita smiled at her. "Good morning, sister," she said cheerfully. Sophia blinked in surprise. "Sister?" Rita nodded. "Yes. If you stay here, you are part of this family now." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. She looked down quickly, trying to hide them. Just then, Samuel walked in from outside. He had been washing his face at the communal tap. When he saw Sophia sitting with his mother and sister, something warm spread through his chest. "Good morning," he said gently. "Good morning, Samuel," Sophia replied quietly. They all ate together in silence. It was a simple meal, but it tasted better than anything Sophia had eaten in months. After breakfast, Samuel stood up. "I have to go to the construction site now," he said, "but Sophia, you can stay here. Rest. We will talk when I come back." Sophia looked up at him. "Samuel, I cannot just stay here and do nothing. Let me help, please." Grace smiled. "She is right, Samuel. If she wants to help, let her help." Samuel nodded slowly. "Okay, but rest your arm first." Sophia smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. Over the next few days, Sophia settled into life in Samuel's home. She helped Grace cook. She helped Rita sell water by the roadside. She cleaned the house. She did everything she could to contribute. And as the days passed, something began to change. Samuel noticed things about Sophia that made him curious. The way she held a cup, delicately, like she was used to fine things. The way she spoke, her English was too polished for someone who had been working as a waitress. The way she moved, graceful, almost elegant. One evening, Samuel sat outside with Sophia. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. "Sophia," Samuel said carefully, "can I ask you something?" Sophia looked at him. "Yes." "Who are you?" he asked gently. "I mean, really. You don't seem like someone who grew up struggling." Sophia's face tightened. She looked away. "Why do you say that?" "Your manners," Samuel said. "The way you speak, the way you carry yourself. You are different." Sophia was silent for a long moment, then she sighed. "You are right," she whispered. "I was not always a waitress." Samuel waited quietly. "I grew up in a big house," Sophia continued. "My father was very rich. He owned businesses, properties, everything. But when I was 15, my mother died, and 2 years later my father remarried." Sophia's voice cracked. "My stepmother, she was cruel. She wanted my father's money for herself. She wanted me gone. When my father died 3 years ago, she took control of everything. She tried to kill me." Samuel's eyes widened. "What?" Sophia nodded, tears streaming down her face. "She poisoned my food one night. I survived, but barely. I knew if I stayed, she would try again. So I ran. I left everything behind. I changed my name. I started working as a waitress just to survive. I thought if I stayed hidden, she would forget about me. Samuel reached out slowly and held her hand. Sophia, I'm so sorry. My real name, Sophia whispered, is Sophia Williams. My father was Richard Williams. Samuel froze. Even he, a poor construction worker, had heard that name. Richard Williams was one of the richest men in Nigeria before he died. You are his daughter? Samuel whispered. Sophia nodded. But I have nothing now. My stepmother took everything, so I am just Sophia now. Just a girl trying to survive. Samuel squeezed her hand gently. You are more than that, he said softly. You are strong, you are brave, and you are safe here. Sophia looked at him, her eyes full of emotion, and in that moment something passed between them, something deeper than words. Over the next few weeks, Sophia and Samuel grew closer. They talked every evening, they laughed together, they worked together. Grace and Rita saw it too. They saw the way Samuel looked at Sophia, they saw the way Sophia's face lit up when Samuel came home. One night, Rita whispered to her mother, Mama, I think brother is falling in love. Grace smiled softly. Yes, my child, and I think she is falling in love too. But happiness, as Samuel knew too well, never lasted long. One Friday afternoon, Sophia was outside helping Rita sell water when 4 black SUVs pulled up in front of their house. The vehicles were big, shiny, expensive. They looked completely out of place in the dusty village. Rita grabbed Sophia's arm. Sister, who are those people? Sophia's face went pale. Her hands began to shake. No, she whispered. No, no, no. The doors of the SUVs opened. 6 men in black suits stepped out. They were tall, muscular, serious. One of them held a photograph in his hand. He looked at Sophia and nodded. Miss Williams, the man said firmly. We have been looking for you. Sophia stepped back. I'm not going with you. Your stepmother sent us, the man continued. She wants you back home. Now. No, Sophia shouted. I won't go back. She tried to kill me. The man's expression did not change. That is not our concern. We were hired to bring you back. Come willingly, or we will take you by force. Rita stepped in front of Sophia. You cannot take her. She is with us now. One of the men pushed Rita aside roughly. She stumbled and fell. At that moment, Samuel came running from the construction site. He had seen the SUVs from a distance and knew something was wrong. Stop, Samuel shouted. He ran toward Sophia, but 2 men grabbed him. Samuel, Sophia screamed. Samuel struggled. Let her go, she doesn't want to go with you. One of the men punched Samuel hard in the stomach. He fell to his knees, gasping for air. Samuel, Sophia cried. She tried to run to him, but the men grabbed her arms. No, please, Sophia begged. Don't hurt him, please. The men dragged Sophia toward the SUV. She kicked. She screamed. But they were too strong. Grace came running out of the house, shouting, Leave her alone, she is just a child. But no one listened. Samuel tried to stand up, but another man pushed him back down. Stay out of this, the man warned. Sophia's eyes locked with Samuel's. Tears poured down her face. Samuel, she whispered, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Sophia, Samuel shouted, his voice breaking. The men shoved Sophia into one of the SUVs and slammed the door shut. Within seconds, all 4 vehicles drove away, leaving nothing but dust and silence. Samuel knelt on the ground, breathing hard. His hands were shaking. His heart was breaking. Rita ran to him and helped him up. Brother, she said, tears in her eyes, what do we do? Samuel stared at the empty road. His jaw tightened. I don't know, he whispered, but I won't give up on her. Grace placed her hand on his shoulder. That girl loves you, Samuel, and you love her. Don't let them take her away. Samuel nodded slowly. I won't, Mama, I won't. Meanwhile, Sophia sat in the back of the SUV, her wrists held tightly by one of the men. She stared out the window, her heart heavy, her mind racing. She thought about Samuel, about Grace, about Rita, about the small house that had become her home. I will come back, she whispered to herself. I promise. I will come back. The SUVs drove for hours until they reached a massive mansion in Lekki. The gates opened automatically and the vehicles pulled into the compound. Sophia was dragged out and taken inside. The house was enormous. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, expensive paintings on the walls. But Sophia felt no comfort here. This was not home. This was a prison. A woman appeared at the top of the grand staircase. She was in her 40s, dressed in designer clothes, her face cold and beautiful. "Sophia," the woman said with a fake smile. "Welcome home." Sophia glared at her. "This is not my home, Clara, and you are not my mother." Clara walked down the stairs slowly. "Still stubborn, I see. That is fine. You will learn to obey soon enough." "I will never obey you," Sophia said firmly. Clara's smile faded. "You think you are strong now? You think living with those poor people gave you courage?" She stepped closer. "You are nothing, Sophia. This house, this money, everything belongs to me now. And you will do what I say." Sophia looked her stepmother in the eyes, and for the first time in years, she did not feel afraid. Living with Samuel, Grace, and Rita had changed her. They had shown her what real strength looked like, real kindness, real love. "No," Sophia said quietly, "I won't." Clara's face twisted with anger. "Lock her in her room," she ordered the men. "No food, no water. She will learn." The men grabbed Sophia and dragged her upstairs. They threw her into a large bedroom and locked the door from outside. Sophia stood in the middle of the room, breathing hard, but she did not cry. Instead, she walked to the window and looked outside. Somewhere out there, Samuel was thinking about her. She knew it. "I will fight back," Sophia whispered. "I will get out of here, and I will go back to him." For the first 3 days in the mansion, Sophia refused to eat. Every meal Clara sent up, Sophia left untouched at the door. Her stomach ached with hunger, but she would not give Clara the satisfaction of breaking her. On the 4th day, Clara came to Sophia's room herself. She opened the door and stared at the plates of untouched food. "You think starving yourself will change anything?" Clara asked coldly. Sophia sat by the window, her back straight, her face calm. "I am not trying to change anything," she said quietly. "I am just choosing not to accept anything from you." Clara's jaw tightened. "You are being childish." "No," Sophia said, turning to look at her stepmother. "I am being strong. There is a difference." Clara stepped closer, her heels clicking on the marble floor. "You think you are strong?" she said with a mocking laugh. "You think hiding in that dirty village made you tough? You are still the same weak girl I tried to get rid of years ago." Sophia stood up slowly. She walked toward Clara until they were face to face. "You are wrong," Sophia said, her voice steady. "That village taught me what you never could. It taught me that real strength does not come from money or power. It comes from love, from family, from people who care about you even when you have nothing." Clara's face twisted with anger. "Those people used you. They saw you as a meal ticket." "No," Sophia said firmly. "They saw me as a human being, something you never did." Clara raised her hand as if to slap Sophia, but Sophia did not flinch. She stood her ground, staring directly into Clara's eyes. Clara's hand froze in mid-air. She lowered it slowly, breathing hard. "I will break you," she whispered, "one way or another." "You can try," Sophia said calmly, "but you will fail." Clara turned and stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. Sophia stood there for a moment, her heart pounding but her spirit unshaken. She walked back to the window and looked out at the sprawling compound. Somewhere beyond those gates, Samuel was thinking about her. She knew it in her heart. "Hold on, Samuel," she whispered. "I will come back to you, I promise." That night, Sophia could not sleep. She lay on the large bed, staring at the ceiling. The room was beautiful. Expensive curtains, soft sheets, air conditioning. But it felt like a prison. She thought about Samuel's small house, the thin mat on the floor, the sound of Grace humming while she cooked, the way Rita laughed at silly jokes, the warmth of sitting together under one dim bulb. Tears rolled down Sophia's cheeks. "I miss them," she whispered into the darkness. "I miss my family." Meanwhile, back in the village, Samuel could not sleep either. He sat outside on the wooden bench, staring at the empty road where the SUVs had driven away. Rita came outside and sat beside him. "Brother, you have not eaten since morning." "I'm not hungry," Samuel said quietly. "Brother, starving yourself will not bring her back." Samuel looked at his sister. "Rita, what if I never see her again? What if they hurt her?" Rita took his hand. "Brother, that girl is strong. Stronger than you think. She survived her stepmother once. She will survive again." "But what if—" "No," Rita interrupted gently. "No what ifs. You must have faith. You must believe that God will bring her back to you." Samuel nodded slowly, but the fear in his heart did not go away. Grace came outside with a small plate of food. "Samuel, my son, please eat something. You need strength." "Mama, I cannot eat," Grace said firmly. "You will not help Sophia by destroying yourself. Eat, pray, and trust God." Samuel took the plate with shaking hands and forced himself to eat a few bites. Grace and Rita sat beside him in silence, their presence giving him the strength he needed to keep going. On the 5th day in the mansion, Clara changed her strategy. She stopped trying to starve Sophia or threaten her. Instead, she tried something different. She brought a lawyer to Sophia's room. The man was dressed in an expensive suit, carrying a briefcase. He looked nervous. "Good morning, Miss Williams," the lawyer said carefully. "My name is Mr. Adekunle. I am here to discuss your father's estate with you." Sophia looked at him suspiciously. "I have nothing to discuss with you." "Please," Mr. Adekunle said, "just hear me out." Clara stood by the door, her arms crossed, watching. Mr. Adekunle opened his briefcase and pulled out several documents. "Your stepmother has prepared an agreement. If you sign these papers, you will receive a monthly allowance of 500,000 naira. You will have your own apartment. You will have freedom to live your life." "And in exchange?" Sophia asked coldly. "In exchange, you give up all claims to your father's estate. Everything, the businesses, the properties, the investments, will remain under your stepmother's control." Sophia stared at the papers for a long moment. Then she looked up at Clara. "You think I am that stupid?" Clara's face remained emotionless. "It is a generous offer, Sophia. Take it." "No," Sophia said simply. Mr. Adekunle shifted uncomfortably. "Miss Williams, please reconsider. This is a very good deal." "I said no," Sophia repeated, her voice rising. "My father built that empire with his own hands. He built it for me, not for her, and I will never ever give it away." Clara's calm mask cracked. "You ungrateful little—" "Ungrateful?" Sophia shouted, standing up. "You tried to poison me. You stole everything my father worked for, and now you want me to just hand it over with a smile?" Mr. Adekunle quickly gathered his papers. I think I should leave." "Yes," Sophia said, glaring at him. "You should." The lawyer hurried out of the room. Clara stood there, her face red with fury. "You will regret this," Clara said through gritted teeth. "No," Sophia said calmly. "You will." Clara stormed out and locked the door again. Sophia sat back down, her hands trembling, but her resolve stronger than ever. "I will not give up," she whispered to herself. "I will not give up." The next day, Sophia woke up with a new determination. She realized that sitting in her room and waiting for something to happen would not help her. She needed to take action. But how? She looked around the room carefully. It was still her old bedroom from when she lived here years ago. Clara had not changed anything. And then Sophia remembered something. When she was younger, her father used to hide important documents in various places around the house. He did not trust banks completely. He always said, "Keep copies of everything, Sophia, in different places. You never know when you might need them." Sophia's heart started beating faster. Could it be? Could some of those documents still be here? She began searching her room. She looked under the bed, inside the closet, behind the curtains. Nothing. Then she remembered. Her father had built a small hidden compartment behind the mirror in her room. He showed it to her once when she was 16. Sophia walked to the large mirror on the wall. Her hands ran along its edges, searching for the small latch her father had installed. At first, she found nothing. Then, in the bottom right corner, her fingers touched something. A tiny button. She pressed it. Click! The mirror swung open slightly, revealing a small hollow space behind it. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. Inside were several sealed envelopes. Her father's handwriting was on them. One envelope was marked, "For Sophia, in case of emergency." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "Papa," she whispered, you knew something might happen." Her hands shook as she opened the envelope. Inside were photocopies of legal documents, property deeds, business registrations, her father's original will, and most importantly, a letter written in her father's own hand. The letter read, "My dearest Sophia, if you are reading this, then something has happened to me. I pray that you never have to open this envelope, but I am writing this to protect you. I know Clara. I know she married me for money, not love. I stayed with her because I was lonely after your mother died, but I never trusted her completely. That is why I am writing this. Everything I own, every business, every property, every investment belongs to you, only you. I have made this clear in my will, which is filed with my personal lawyer, Mr. Okonkwo. His contact information is below. If anyone tries to take what is yours, show him these documents. He will help you. I love you, my daughter. Be strong, be wise, and never let anyone make you feel small. You are a Williams, and Williams never give up. Forever your father, Richard Williams." Sophia held the letter to her chest and cried softly. "Thank you, Papa," she whispered. When her tears slowed, she gathered all the documents and hid them under her mattress. She carefully closed the mirror compartment. Now she had proof. Now she had power. But power meant nothing unless she could reach Mr. Okonkwo. And for that, she had to leave the room. Sophia walked to the door and knocked loudly. "I need to speak with Clara," she shouted. "Now." After a few minutes, a guard opened the door. "Madam Clara said she is busy." "Tell her I've changed my mind," Sophia said calmly. "Tell her I'm ready to sign the papers." The guard stared at her. "You will sign?" "Yes," Sophia lied smoothly, "but I have conditions. I want to speak with her face to face, and I want the lawyer present. Tell her to bring him back." The guard nodded and left. Sophia leaned against the door, her heart pounding. This was the biggest risk of her life. But she had no choice. An hour later, Clara entered with Mr. Adekunle. Clara smiled with satisfaction. "So, you've finally come to your senses?" "I want my own lawyer present," Sophia said. Clara frowned. "What?" "If I'm signing away my inheritance, I want my lawyer to review everything first. That's my right." Mr. Adekunle nodded nervously. "She's correct, madam." Clara sighed angrily. "Fine. Who is your lawyer?" "Mr. Okonkwo," Sophia replied. "My father's lawyer." Clara's face paled. "He's retired." "Then call him," Sophia said coldly. "If you refuse, I won't sign anything." Clara hesitated, then nodded. "Come downstairs." In the study, Clara dialed the number on speaker. After 3 rings, an elderly voice answered. "Mr. Okonkwo," Clara said stiffly. "This is Clara Williams. I'm calling about Sophia." "Sophia?" he asked. "Is she all right?" "She's fine," Clara said. "She wants to discuss her father's estate." "Put her on." Sophia took the phone. "Mr. Okonkwo, I need your help. I found something about my father's will." There was a pause. "Do not sign anything," he said firmly. "I'll be there tomorrow morning." Relief washed over her. "Thank you." Clara ended the call and glared. "You think you're clever." "I think I'm careful," Sophia replied. That night, Sophia barely slept. Her hand rested on the documents under her mattress. Tomorrow would change everything. Mr. Okonkwo arrived the next morning at exactly 10. He was elderly, with kind eyes and a worn leather briefcase. Clara welcomed him with a forced smile. Sophia stood when she saw him. "Thank you for coming. You look just like your father," he said softly. "Let's talk privately." Clara objected, but Mr. Okonkwo refused. "This is between me and my client." Inside the study, Sophia handed him the documents. "My father hid these for me." Mr. Okonkwo examined them carefully. "When your father died, Clara presented a will leaving her everything. I suspected it was forged, but I had no proof. She threatened me, and I was forced to step back." Sophia's heart sank. "So she stole everything?" "Yes," Mr. Okonkwo said. "But now," he held up the documents, "now we have proof. Your father's real will is here, and more importantly, this letter in his handwriting will hold up in court." "What do we do?" Sophia asked. "We go to court," Mr. Okonkwo said firmly. "We expose her fraud, and we take back what is rightfully yours." Sophia felt hope bloom in her chest. "How long will it take?" "A few weeks, maybe a month," Mr. Okonkwo said. But Sophia, you need to be strong. Clara will fight back. She will try to intimidate you. She will try to make you give up. I won't, Sophia said, thinking of Samuel. I have people waiting for me. I have a reason to fight. Mr. Okonkwo smiled. Good. Then let us begin. They walked out of the study together. Clara was waiting in the hallway, her face tense. Well, she demanded, have you decided to cooperate? Mr. Okonkwo looked at her coldly. Mrs. Williams, I will be filing a case against you in court. You are accused of fraud, forgery, and theft of estate property. I suggest you hire a very good lawyer. Clara's face went white. You cannot do this. Yes, I can, Mr. Okonkwo said. And I will. Come, Sophia, we are leaving. No, Clara shouted. She turned to her guards. Don't let them leave. The guards moved forward, but Mr. Okonkwo raised his hand. If you touch us, I will call the police immediately. Assault, unlawful imprisonment, you will all go to jail. The guards hesitated. They looked at each other nervously. Let them go, one guard said quietly. I am not going to jail for this. Clara's face twisted with rage, but she had no choice. Fine, leave. But this is not over, Sophia, not by a long shot. You are right, Sophia said calmly. It is not over, but when it ends, I will be the one standing. Mr. Okonkwo and Sophia walked out of the mansion together. A car was waiting for them outside. As they drove away, Sophia looked back at the massive house one last time. I am coming back, she whispered. But next time, I will be the owner. Over the next 3 weeks, the case moved quickly. Mr. Okonkwo filed all the necessary papers. The court examined the evidence. Forensic experts confirmed that Clara's version of the will had forged signatures. Meanwhile, Clara hired the most expensive lawyers in Lagos. They tried everything: delays, technicalities, intimidation tactics. But Mr. Okonkwo was experienced. He knew every trick. And he had truth on his side. During this time, Sophia stayed in a small hotel. She could have stayed somewhere luxurious, but she did not want to. Instead, she chose a simple place. It reminded her of the village. It reminded her of home. Every night, she thought about Samuel. She wondered what he was doing. She wondered if he missed her as much as she missed him. Wait for me, she whispered into the darkness, just a little longer. Finally, the court date arrived. Sophia wore a simple blue dress. She walked into the courtroom with her head held high. Clara was already there, surrounded by her lawyers, wearing expensive designer clothes and jewelry. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The case began. For 3 hours, lawyers presented evidence. Documents were examined. Expert witnesses testified. Clara's lawyers tried to poke holes in the evidence, but they failed. The proof was too strong. At the end of the hearing, the judge looked directly at Clara. Mrs. Clara Williams, the evidence clearly shows that you forged documents to steal your late husband's estate. The original will clearly states that everything belongs to his daughter, Sophia Williams. Clara's face went pale. Therefore, the judge continued, I hereby declare that all properties, businesses, and assets of the late Richard Williams are to be immediately returned to Miss Sophia Williams. Additionally, you are ordered to pay damages for 3 years of illegal control, and finally, you are hereby charged with fraud and forgery. You will remain in custody pending trial. Clara stood up, screaming, No, you cannot do this. I am... 2 police officers moved forward and placed handcuffs on her wrists. You are under arrest, one officer said. As they led Clara away, she looked back at Sophia with pure hatred in her eyes. This is not over, she screamed. I will destroy you. Sophia watched her calmly. No, Clara, it is over, and you have already destroyed yourself. After Clara was taken away, Mr. Okonkwo turned to Sophia with a warm smile. Congratulations, my dear. Your father would be very proud. Sophia hugged him tightly. Thank you, sir. Thank you for believing in me. Now, Mr. Okonkwo said gently, what will you do? Sophia looked out the courthouse window. She thought about Samuel, Grace, and Rita. She thought about the small village that had given her everything when she had nothing. I know exactly what I need to do, she said softly. The next day, Sophia stood in the mansion alone. It was hers now, all of it. The servants had lined up, waiting for instructions. The lawyers had handed her keys to everything: bank accounts, properties, businesses. She walked through the massive house slowly. Her footsteps echoed on the marble floors. She stood in her father's study and looked at his photograph on the wall. "I did it, Papa," she whispered. "I got it all back." But as she stood there, surrounded by luxury and wealth, she felt empty, because none of it meant anything without the people she loved. And she felt nothing, because none of it mattered without the people she loved. She picked up her phone and made one call. "Prepare the car," she said. "I am going back to the village." The next morning, 4 SUVs pulled up in front of Samuel's small house once again. But this time, the atmosphere was different. Samuel was outside carrying a bucket of water when he saw the vehicles. His heart stopped. He dropped the bucket. "No," he whispered. "Not again." Rita ran out of the house, her face filled with fear. "Brother, they are back!" Grace came to the doorway, her hand on her chest. But then the door of the first SUV opened, and Sophia stepped out. She was wearing simple clothes, her hair was tied back. She looked exactly like the Sophia they had known. Samuel's mouth fell open. "Sophia?" Sophia walked toward him slowly. Her eyes were wet with tears. "Samuel," she said softly. Samuel stood frozen for a moment, then he ran to her. He wrapped his arms around her and held her tightly. "You came back," he whispered. "You came back." "I promised," Sophia said, crying. "I promised I would." Rita and Grace ran outside. They hugged Sophia, all of them crying together, laughing together, holding each other. "My child," Grace said, wiping her tears. "You are home." "Yes, Mama," Sophia whispered. "I am home." Later that evening, Sophia and Samuel sat together outside the house, just like they used to. The sun was setting. The sky was painted with gold and red. "Sophia," Samuel said quietly, "you have everything now. Your father's wealth, your mansion, your freedom. You don't have to stay here." Sophia looked at him. She reached out and held his rough, calloused hand. "Samuel," she said gently, "I have lived in a mansion. I have worn expensive clothes. I have eaten the finest food. But none of it ever made me feel the way I felt here." Samuel looked at her, confused. "What do you mean?" "Here," Sophia said, her voice breaking. "With you, with your mother, with Rita. I felt loved, I felt safe. I felt like I belonged. That is worth more than all the money in the world." Samuel's eyes filled with tears. "Sophia, let me finish," she said softly. She took a deep breath. "Samuel, you are the most honest, kind, and good man I have ever known. You saved me when no one else cared. You gave me a home when I had nowhere to go. You loved me when I was nobody." She paused, then looked into his eyes. "Samuel, will you marry me?" Samuel blinked in shock. "What?" Sophia smiled through her tears. "I know it is supposed to be the man who asks. But I don't care about tradition. I care about you. So I am asking you, will you marry me?" Samuel stared at her for a long moment, then he let out a small laugh, shaking his head in disbelief. "Sophia, I am just a poor construction worker. I have nothing to give you." "You have everything I need," Sophia said firmly. "You have a good heart, and that is enough." Samuel's face broke into a wide smile. He pulled her close and kissed her forehead. "Yes," he whispered. "Yes, I will marry you." Sophia laughed and cried at the same time. She wrapped her arms around him and held him tight. Grace and Rita, who had been watching from the doorway, clapped and cheered. "Praise God," Grace shouted. "My son is getting married." Rita jumped up and down with joy. "Sister Sophia is staying. She is staying." Over the next few weeks, Sophia began making changes, but not the kind of changes people expected. She did not take Samuel away from the village. Instead, she brought the village up. She built a new school with trained teachers and free tuition for all the children. She built a medical clinic with doctors and nurses who worked for free. She paved the roads. She installed streetlights. She created jobs for the men and women who had been struggling for years. Samuel watched in amazement as his village transformed. "Sophia, you are changing everything," he said one day. "No," Sophia replied with a smile. "We are changing everything, together." They got married in a simple ceremony in the village. Sophia wore a white dress, but not an expensive one. Samuel wore a clean shirt and trousers. Grace cried tears of joy. Rita sang a beautiful song. The whole village came to celebrate. There was food, music, laughter. It was not a rich man's wedding. It was something better. It was real. It was full of love. After the wedding, Sophia and Samuel moved into a new house she had built in the village. It was not a mansion. It was a comfortable, simple home with enough rooms for them, for Grace, and for Rita. One evening, Sophia and Samuel sat on the porch of their new home, watching the children play in the new school playground. "Samuel," Sophia said quietly, "do you ever regret it? Marrying someone like me, someone with so much baggage?" Samuel took her hand and kissed it gently. "Sophia, you are not baggage. You are a blessing. You taught me that kindness always wins, that love is stronger than money, that real wealth is not in a bank account, but in the people who stand beside you." Sophia leaned her head on his shoulder. "I love you, Samuel. I love you too, Sophia." Grace came outside, carrying a tray of Zobo drink. "You two should come inside and eat." Rita made rice. They both stood up and followed Grace inside, hand in hand. Meanwhile, back in Lagos, Clara sat in a prison cell, alone and forgotten. She had lost everything. And all because she had tried to destroy love. But Sophia did not think about Clara anymore. She had learned to forgive, not for Clara's sake, but for her own peace. Every morning, Sophia woke up beside Samuel. She heard the sound of children laughing on their way to school. She saw her mother-in-law cooking breakfast with a smile. She watched her sister-in-law studying books for the university entrance exam Sophia had paid for. And every morning, Sophia thanked God for the night she lost her job. For the night a kind construction worker stopped to help a crying waitress. For the night her whole life changed. Because sometimes the darkest moments lead to the brightest blessings. Sometimes losing everything helps you find what truly matters. And sometimes the person you think is poor is actually the richest person you will ever meet. Months later, on a quiet Sunday evening, the whole family sat together under a big tree outside their house. Grace was telling stories. Rita was laughing. Samuel was holding Sophia's hand. Sophia looked around at the faces she loved. Her heart was full. Her soul was at peace. "Thank you," she whispered to Samuel. "For what?" he asked. "For seeing me," she said softly. "For seeing me when I was invisible to everyone else." Samuel smiled. "You were never invisible to me, Sophia. From the first moment I saw you, I saw a queen." Sophia's eyes filled with happy tears. She kissed his cheek gently. Grace looked at them and smiled. "Love is a beautiful thing," she said. "It does not care about money. It does not care about status. It only cares about the heart." Rita nodded. "And you two have the best hearts." As the sun set over the village, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Sophia realized something important. She had spent years running from her stepmother, years hiding, years afraid. But in this small village, with this humble family, she had finally found what she was searching for all along. She had found home, she had found love, she had found herself. And she would never let it go. In the end, this story reminds us of something very important. One small act of kindness can change a whole life. One moment of love can save a broken heart. And one helping hand can lift a family from pain to joy. Samuel did not know that helping a crying waitress would bring him the love of his life. Sophia did not know that losing everything would help her find her true home. But God knew, and He brought them together in the most unexpected way. Kindness never dies. It always finds its way back. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it always returns with blessings. My dear viewers, what do you think about this touching story? Please share your thoughts in the comment section. I would love to read from you. And guess what? In a few days, I will upload another very interesting story. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on your notification bell so you will be notified immediately the story drops. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching.